RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. This is your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions on diet, training, supplementation, IFBB pros, competitions. Just had the New York Pro this past weekend, won by Sergio Oliva Jr. Questions on life, whatever it is on your mind, it is all on the table. As we now bring in Dave Palumbo from the Cape Coral Studios. Dave, you were up here this past weekend for the New York Pro, an exciting show at that. A quick thought on the excitement from New York City this past weekend.
We didn't think it was going to be such a spectacular lineup, but it turned out to be a real nail biter at the end because it came down to a two-man show. Actually, it was probably a three-man show, but Sergio and John De La Rosa are on stage, and it was exciting, and the audience got into it, and Sergio really raised the bar, I have to say, on his performance. Sometimes when two guys are really close together and you can't really decide who's the winner, the more charismatic one wins. I mean, Arnold did it a million times. So Sergio has got a lot of stage charisma. I got to give him that. He hits a lot of unconventional poses, like especially his dad's, kind of similar to what Kai Green used to do on stage. And your eyes just go to him. You just completely, lose the other people on stage. And he was in spectacular shape. He was probably one of the most conditioned guys on the stage. And that counts for a lot. I always say it, conditioning wins shows. And Sergio went in there and stole his pro debut away from John De La Rosa, and I got to just give props to what's his name, Luis Rodriguez, who in his pro debut was spectacular. I mean, here's a guy we were talking about last year as the guy who beat Boston Lloyd at the Connecticut show, and this was his first pro show, and he really, you could have made a case for him winning, really, but he has a couple body parts that still need to come up. I thought he was a solid third. I know they gave Juan Morel third, but he was a solid third in my mind, and I thought that was a great debut for him. I loved seeing Ronnie Raquel win the 212 class. No one predicted that, and Breon Ansley really shocked a lot of people and proved that he's the real deal, and he might be one of the guys to watch out for at the Classic Physique Olympia.
And then, of course, Shanique Grant winning her division in spectacular fashion as well. Sheena Martin winning the bikini division. Dave, a big interview tonight on RxMuscle.com and the RX Muscle YouTube channel as you sit down with Bill Llewellyn.
Yeah, I love Bill, and Bill and I go way back, and I've been promoting his book, the Anabolic series that he wrote. It's like an encyclopedia for everything you want to know about performance-enhancing drugs, and he's updating it. So I want to get him on and talk about that a little bit. We talked about Roid Test, which is his invention that I sell, as his distributor here on DavePalumbo.com. Test your steroids. Another brilliant idea by him. And we talk about his product that he's been marketing for several years, also called Factor X, which is an arachidonic acid product, one of the essential fatty acids. And he talks about some of the studies that he's done on it, and actually proves me wrong on a few things. Well, he educated me on a few things. He didn't really prove me wrong, but he educated me on a few things that I didn't know about. So it's going to be I think people will probably like this interview. They'd rank this probably one of the best top 5 interviews of all time, especially if you're into talking about drugs and stuff like that and steroids. People are going to really like it. So check it out tonight.
Let's get to the questions. If you want to join us, you can join us on the Muscle Central Forum on RxMuscle.com. If you're not already a member, it is free to register. If you're watching us live on YouTube, ask your questions on the chat box on the right-hand side, our official Facebook page, Twitter using hashtag AskDave, or Instagram official_RxMuscle. The first question to us, however, was emailed to us by Body Secret. If on a low-carb diet or a keto diet, will beer or light beer still make you fat? Will it cause you to not lose weight? Please explain whether it's a 12-pack or a 6-pack.
I don't believe in drinking alcohol when you're dieting. I just don't think it's appropriate. Even on a cheat meal. I know some people beg me for one glass of wine, and I'm like, whatever, you can have it. But I never drank alcohol. Alcohol is like the anti-bodybuilding like substance. It's just not good for you. It's toxic to the liver, which we don't want to do because we already have toxic substances in our body. It's empty calories. Alcohol calories cannot be used for fuel, so it's a waste of calories. if you're gonna have extra calories, you might as well enjoy yourself and what you're eating and let your body be able to burn them for energy. So I'm not a big believer in alcohol. And beer is probably the worst alcohol you can have because it has grain in it. It has carbs in it. At least vodka is pure alcohol. I don't condone any of it, but at least like I said, a straight alcohol is probably better than beer. But once again, I'm not going to condone any alcohol usage pre-contest. I never drank a drip of alcohol my whole career when I was trying to get big. Toward the end of my career, where I was already had the size I wanted, I would go out and have if I was out at a club or something like that, I might have a drink or two. But it's not a good bodybuilding drug.
Styles reminds me to tell you that our interviews with the winners from the New York Pro Show are being put up right now on RxMuscle.com and the YouTube channel. Live right now is our interview with Sergio Oliva, which also included his mother and, of course, his prep coach, Chris Aceto, Andre Ferguson, men's physique winner, Breon Ansley, classic physique winner, and Shanique Grant, women's physique winner. Those interviews right now on RxMuscle.com and the YouTube channel. If all food that you intake is about the day before, why use the anabolic window during the current day? Why do we need to follow lean protein and low fats before workout? And he puts in parentheses, I understand it slows the absorption down and it will set in stomach during a workout.
I think what he's referring to is what Chris Aceto and I said on Heavy Muscle Radio a while back, that how your workout goes today is really dictated by how you ate yesterday. So let's assume that that's correct. How you fueled yourself up the day before will affect how you work out today. The reason why you want to do a post-workout shake and you want to refuel the body as quickly as possible is because you're getting it ready for tomorrow, not for this workout. And pre-workout, you want to eat something that's just easily digestible so it's not laying in your stomach. That's not fueling you for the workout. It's just it's giving your body some amino acids in the bloodstream, but it's not overwhelming your intestinal tract where your body has to send tons of blood there to digest this food. So post-workout is for the next day. The pre-workout is just basically to keep blood sugar levels and amino acid levels stable.
Let's go to our YouTube questions. Let's go back to the forum, to the Muscle Center forum, and let's go to Benadu14. Dave, when doing several shows back-to-back in a contest year, what is the longest you recommend athletes use tren? Would you suggest taking breaks from certain compounds between shows?
When the shows are back-to-back, I usually just keep people on whatever they're using, Trenbolone, Masteron, testosterone, even if they're like 5 or 6 weeks apart. So you might go from using Trenbolone for 8 weeks to 14 weeks, and then I clean them out. If they're doing a show now and then they're going to do another one in 12 weeks, I'll probably take them off the tren for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and then put them back on it. Because Trenbolone does, it makes it hard to sleep, it makes you irritable, raises blood pressure, so you don't want to be on it for long, long periods of time. But, it's not that much more toxic than, say, DECA or Equipoise is. The problem with Trenbolone is because it has so many androgens in it, it does make it hard to sleep because it stimulates that central nervous system. And, it makes you cough when you inject it. It can raise your blood pressure if you're not keeping an eye on it. So once again, everyone's a little different. I think some people go overboard with it and they take too much of it. You could probably get away with, I tell people 100 milligrams every other day, but you could probably take 50 and have no problem. We used that back in the day at 50 milligrams every other day, and I got great results from it.
Let's go to Curtis Spania. I have started using GABA on a daily basis throughout the day, 500 mg 2-3 times a day, not for sleeping, but because I like its calming effect. I wonder, one, do the GABA receptors, quote unquote, wear out after taking it for a while so that I'll have to increase the dose, or can I just stay on the same dose? And then the second part, will taking 500 mg 2 to 3 times a day have any side effects, and will it stop the natural production?
It's a good question, and I'll answer it this way. If you take Xanax all day, which stimulates GABA receptors in the brain, you kind of get used to it after a while. So you don't want to take the same substance that's stimulating the same receptors, because then it does attenuate. I like to use GABA before bed because there's a growth hormone release. It does relax you at night. If you tend to be tense and you want to take something natural for relaxation, instead of taking pure GABA, I sell a product on my DavePalumbo.com website called Euphoria. It's GABA metabolites, a few of them mixed in there, and it works really good at relax. You could use that to relax, and then at night take regular GABA. You can even use my Somalize product, which has the GABA and melatonin in it in the right dosages. But during the day, I wouldn't be taking GABA all day long. Like I said, if you really want to relax, try the Euphoria product I sell. A good friend of mine makes it. He's a genius. And it really does give you a little buzz. It almost has a GHB-ish buzz to it. And it's because it works on slightly different receptors of the brain. Remember, GHB, which was the drug that everyone used of choice, and they used to sell it right in the health food stores before they made it illegal, is GABA, is gamma hydroxybutyrate, and that's a GABA metabolite as well, and it stimulates GABA receptors, but from a different angle, from a different perspective. Just like different anabolic steroids stimulate different parts of the androgen receptor. So I would try the Euphoria. If you need to use it during the day, stick with the GABA at night.
PTB on the Muscle Central Forum, I'd like your opinion on the following supplements. 1, black seed oil. 2, black maca oil. And then he goes on to say he's hearing a lot about this one for ED issues. Speaking of ED, are there herbal or natural products that you're aware of that work as well as the prescription drugs like Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra?
Yeah. Nothing works as good as Cialis and Viagra and Levitra. I think Cialis being the best one. I think that some of the products that were marketed originally for that on the market, the herbal ones, were actually had Cialis or Viagra in them. And a lot of those companies got in trouble. And then if you notice, they're not on the market anymore as much. I don't think the products are as good. If you're looking for the effects of Cialis, use Cialis. That's just the bottom line. You're not going to get that from an herbal version of the product. It's just not going to happen. Having said that, getting back to the original question, which was the seed oils, I'm not that familiar with them, I'm going to tell you, and I don't really know if there's that much research. I know everyone's always tried to come out with the next great oil. To me, the best essential oils out there on the market are for monounsaturated fats or macadamia nut oil, and that's why I sell it at speciesnutrition.com. There's nothing better than mac oil, because even olive oil is not better, because most of the olive oil on the market is fake, first of all. And secondly, olive oil can't be exposed to light, it can't be heated up hot, or it degrades. It's got a lot of drawbacks, and it doesn't really taste that good. So I'm a big mac oil for monounsaturates. For the essential fatty acids, nothing beats fish oil for the omega-3s, and I think for the omega-6s, to me, evening primrose oil and borage oil are the best sources of gamma-linolenic acid, or GLA, which is the omega-6 essential fat. And if you listen to the interview tonight with Bill Llewellyn, you can use a little arachidonic acid, which is his Factor X supplement, if you want to add that to your regimen as well. To me, the other oils are just kind of like, I don't know, there's nothing as good. It's like you're getting some of the benefits, but not all the benefits. You might as well get all the benefits if you're going to put an oil into your body.
Let's go to our YouTube questions. Start with Slim Versace. Dave, is there a way to get rid of reverse T3 faster than waiting for it to be excreted by the body, assuming one is on T3 only, so there is no quote-unquote new T4 present, natural or synthetic?
Reverse T3 just refers to a form of thyroid hormone, or triiodothyronine, which is the active thyroid hormone that's been deactivated, essentially. So if your reverse T3 levels are really high, you might be low thyroid, even though your thyroid levels are normal, if that makes sense. Is there a way to get it out of your body? No, there isn't. The best thing you can do is get checked out. Some people, even though their thyroid levels are normal, they have such high reverse T3 that they actually have to go on thyroid replacement. But I haven't really seen that much. I would definitely go see an endocrinologist if that's the issue that you're facing, because someone has to kind of monitor you, do follow-up blood work to see what's going on. The first thing I always tell people when they have thyroid issues is make sure you're getting enough iodine. If you're taking a product like my V Mineralized, it has the kelp in it, which is a great source of iodine, then you're probably good. If you use iodized salt on your food, you're probably good. If you're not, though, if you're using sea salt, which has no iodine in it, and you're not taking a good multivitamin with kelp in it, you might be iodine deficient, in which case that could lead to a little hypothyroidism. So you want to assess the situation, and once again, the first thing I would do is add iodine into the diet. Second thing I would do is go to an endocrinologist.
Let's go to Chris James. Dave, can shoulder impingement be healed through stretching the shoulder capsule?
Most likely no. I had shoulder impingements early in my career in both shoulders. And what that is, it's, the infraspinatus tendon and the bicep tendon go into your shoulder right about here. and there's a little canal they go through. And if that canal narrows, or if there's any like buildup of debris there, calcium, bone, these tendons can't get through the canal properly, and they start rubbing, and you get chronic tendonitis in there, and it almost feels like when I would incline bench, it would feel like someone was pinching my tendons off there, and it just was too painful. I couldn't do it. So what they do is they go in there and they open up the canal, and they make it wider so that the tendons can flow properly through there. If that's the issue, then that's an easy arthroscopic surgery fix. If it's not the issue, and if those two tendons are getting jammed up on like scar tissue in there, or adhesions, ART, or active release techniques therapy, is the way to go, because the therapist can get in there. Someone like my friend Llewellyn or Derek Farnsworth, they can get in there and they can break up the adhesions and free the tendons up. It depends on whether it's bony or it's not, and that can be diagnosed on an MRI, even sometimes on a regular X-ray.
Let's go to Jacked and Juicy Sequence. Dave, do you know anything new about George Farah's health?
I do not. I haven't heard an update recently. I don't think he's really been on social media lately, which tells me or leads me to believe that he's fighting a battle right now, and obviously we want to send out prayers to him to hope he overcomes this. A few of his clients have contacted me because I don't know if he's doing quite as much contest prep now that he is not feeling so well. And like I said, we don't like to hear any one of our brothers in iron go down with any kind of disease or anything like that. And it's sad, but at the same time, George is a smart guy, and I'm sure he's using every modality and therapeutic that he can use, natural healing to conventional Western medicine healing. And let's hope he beats this. He's gotten shot before and he overcame that. So I think he'll pull out of this. I'm rooting for him. I know everyone out there, if you guys are listening, say a prayer for him, and let's hope he gets through this whole little ordeal he's going through.
Neil Barr, Dave, how can a woman reduce fibroids?
Reduce what?
Fibroids.
What are fibroids?
That's the question says. I wouldn't know.
Spell it.
Fabroids.
Maybe fibroids? I don't know.
Unless that's what they meant to spell. Yeah.
I don't know. Fibroid tumors? I don't know. You got to get them taken out. I think we're missing something. Maybe it was a spell check screwed it up or something like that.
Style X, your opinion on baking soda as a pre-workout?
No, I don't like it. Most people get upset stomach from it. The concept behind baking soda is that it's it's a severe alkalinizing compound. So when lactic acid builds up in the muscles, the baking soda, what the components of that will neutralize that acidity and allow you to train harder. They actually used to funnel, I've said this before, I think I told the story before, they used to funnel it down the racehorses' throats before a race. And these horses would run so hard because they wouldn't fatigue, there would be no lactic acid buildup, that they would actually blow out their hearts, and they would die. They'd have heart attacks, because they would push so hard. So they outlawed it in horse racing. The problem is in humans is you use baking soda, you're going to poop your brains out. It doesn't feel good. Believe me, if it worked, these endurance athletes would all be using it, but it doesn't sit well in the human, at least in the human stomach. The horses seem to tolerate it well.
Corey Nelscan, can you elaborate on anabolic resistance?
I'm not really sure what they're referring to. Are they talking about anabolic drug resistance, like the drugs?
That's just what the question says, so let's assume that that's what he meant.
I haven't seen too many people that don't respond well to anabolic steroids. I guess if you're using them too long, you can develop resistance to them because your receptors lose the receptivity. Some people genetically might not respond, because they have some kind of a chromosomal defect and they just don't respond to anabolics. I don't know, but most people respond the same way. That's why when I have someone who comes to me and I give them a diet and they're not losing weight, okay, I know they're cheating normally. And if they're not cheating, then there's something usually physiologically wrong with them. And a lot of times it could be thyroid related, it could be an insulin resistance issue. So, on average, usually in 99% of the people or the population, anabolic steroids will work.
E. Smith, Fibrilize sometimes sits very heavy in my stomach and makes me feel stuffed up. Any tips?
When people are dieting, they love that feeling because it makes them full. Yeah, I wouldn't have it right after a meal. I do it between meals. So like in the middle of the day, sometimes I'll go over to my house, I'll mix up a Fibroids shake, and I do it right before bed. And I don't put it in a ton of water. I put it in about 6 ounces of water, but I stir it and drink it down super fast. This way, it's a lot of times it's the volume of what you're putting into your body. If you're putting 10 ounces or 12 ounces of liquid into your body with the Fibroids, it's going to swell into a nice little ball, in your stomach. So just reduce the volume of the liquid a little bit, and I think you'll be all right.
Let's go to Alice Creighton. I want to know about using training styles like boxing and MMA to drop fat. Which of those will help me drop fat between weightlifting and I guess basically this question is kind of all over the place here. He wants to know between MMA, boxing, or any of these other training styles to drop fat and help conditioning.
The first thing I always ask my clients is, what are your goals? Do you want to lose body fat, or do you want to be in great shape where you can go run a marathon or go box 10 rounds? And 99% of the people say to me, I want to just be in shape. So in that percentage of people, I tell them, look, you don't want to be doing high intensity activities. You want to be doing low intensity cardio, walking on the treadmill, the elliptical, riding the stationary bike. That's going to burn fat in your fat burning zone, under 135 beats per minute. If, however, you're looking to get, to get in cardiovascular shape where you have great endurance and speed and all that stuff, then you can box, you can run on a treadmill, you can do sprints outside. But if you're looking to just drop body fat, if that's the goal, long, slow cardio is the best.
RTG34, could Mike Mentzer have won an Olympia if he stayed motivated and kept fighting for the title?
Possibly, I think so. Look, Chris Dickerson won in '82, so I think that Mentzer might have snagged one if he kept around, if he stayed around. I know he was very bitter after losing, when Arnold came back in 1980, and Franco won in '81. So, we talk about this all the time. Being able to be Mr. Olympia is as much a mental win as it is a physical win. And sometimes these guys just don't have the mental fortitude to hang around. I mean, how many times did Jay Cutler come in second behind Ronnie Coleman before he finally won? A lot of guys might have just stopped at that point. Kai Green stopped. He's not doing the Olympia anymore. He came in second a whole bunch of times to Phil Heath. So, you got to have a strong mental state, and you can't take things personally, and you have to just be willing to stand in there and keep taking punches. And I think a lot of guys are not willing to do that.
Jay Romano, Dave, what is your opinion on training the same body part twice in the same day? Morning workout, heavy, low reps, evening, moderate weight, higher reps, shorter rest periods.
I don't see the benefit of it, because you go into the gym to break down the muscle tissue, okay? And now you leave the gym, and then you want to rebuild the muscle tissue, but then you're going back again the same day and you're breaking it down again. Why not just do the whole workout all in one shot? If you want to train 80 sets, why don't you just do it all in one shot? I mean, at least you'll have a full day to recover. So I don't know. To me, it sounds like a cockamamie, crazy thing to do. And usually cockamamie crazy things to do don't work.
Let's go to our Instagram questions. Again, if you're not already following us on Instagram, official_RxMuscle. Let's go to Rob James 09. Dave, what is the best therapy for elbow tendonitis, specifically golfer's elbow?
ART, second time I mentioned it in the same show, active release techniques. My good friend Llewellyn Castro, who I stayed at his house this past weekend, and I forgot to ask him to work on me. Can you believe it? I was there for Thursday night, and we went out to dinner together and came back, and I forgot to get adjusted, but so be it. He's great if you're in the New York tri-state area, but there's plenty of ART practitioners all over, and very, very successful results, for tennis elbow.
T_Ben35, is it okay to have rice cakes while on keto? If not, what could be a replacement snack?
First of all, there are no snacks while you're dieting. There are meals. If you're eating 5 or 6 meals, whatever it is, those are your meals. There's no extra in-between stuff when you're dieting. First of all, you're lucky you're getting 5 or 6 meals when you're dieting, okay? You're not getting extra stuff, number one. Number two, if you're on a ketogenic diet, which implies you're eating no carbs, no starchy sources of carbs, so that your brain is burning fats for fuel instead of glucose, why would you take rice cakes in your diet? You'll take yourself out of ketosis, because then the brain will start using the carbs in the rice cake. So, two bad ideas.
muscle_by_Mones. Dave, have you seen anything like what happened to Guy Cisternino this weekend? I don't think he got results back, but not sure if you have any idea as far as what could have caused that reaction in his body. If you want to also elaborate what happened to Guy Cisternino this past weekend at the New York Pro.
Well, Guy was at the prejudging, and he looked off for Guy. He had like a film of water on him, and he had some they didn't look red on stage because he had Protan on, but there was certainly blotches on his skin in different muscle areas. And Chris Aceto, who worked with him, obviously told me that he had passed out the day before, and he was having some kind of an allergic reaction. He went to the hospital. They gave him prednisone, which is obviously not the thing you want to take right before you get on stage. But Guy is a warrior, so he tried to tough it out and get through it. And he realized after prejudging that he just had to go. He was feeling terrible. He went back to the hospital, and he never finished the show. What happened? Who the heck knows? I don't know. He looks like he had an allergic reaction to something. He did. I remember when I helped Kevin English when he won the NPC National. I think it was '97 at the middleweight class. About 3 hours before, his girlfriend at the time called me up to come down to the room, and I went there. And he was covered in hives. Not one spot in his body that wasn't there not hives. And he looked all swollen, and I was like, oh my God, this guy was a shoo-in for the win. What are we gonna do? So I sent his girlfriend out to get me Benadryl. We gave him Benadryl, and I kind of started questioning what was going on. He was sleeping with some wool cover on his naked body that he had never used before. And turned out he was allergic to the wool. And once we removed that and we gave him a little Benadryl, his body came down and he was fine. But when you're so bad that they got to give you prednisone, that stuff stays in your system a long time. Guy just had no chance at that point.
V1A7KO, if I have naturally high DHT normal testosterone range, does that mean if I go on cycle with 500 mg test a week, I will convert more test to DHT than the regular person?
You might. You absolutely might. It could absolutely mean that you are a high converter of DHT. But I will tell you one thing. If you're taking an aromatase inhibitor, meaning a drug that blocks the conversion of testosterone into estrogen, by doing that and blocking that pathway, more testosterone will convert to DHT. So a lot of times, because what I would notice is when I would take Arimidex, I would break out more, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I realized I said, hey, what am I, a dummy? More is converting to DHT because it can't convert to estrogen. So I started taking a DHT blocker. At the time, I started taking Sol Palmetto at that time. And then I went and progressed to finasteride because I wanted to also preserve my hair. I was starting to lose my hair at 30 years old. So basically, if you want to lower, if you take more testosterone and you are a high converter to DHT, you're going to convert more, absolutely.
Let's go to ARK129. Is there a way to clean up acne? I'm sure we've gotten this question before. Is there a way to clear up acne from using gear? Mine isn't terrible, but still doesn't look good. Sorry if you've already answered this one before. I can't find it in the other episodes.
Well, when I was competing, my acne was bad, really bad at one point. I guess when I first started really cycling, and I didn't know what to do. And I was very good friends with a dermatologist at the time. He was a bodybuilder, Dr. Mike Kaufman. He was also like a bit of a mentor to me. And I said, Mike, what am I going to do? And he, being a dermatologist, I mean, he was the perfect guy to ask. He's like, you got to take Accutane. And he wrote me a script for it. It was really easy back in the 90s to get a script for it. I went there, I filled it. I took it for like 4 or 5 months. I think I was on 40 or 80 milligrams a day, up to that. And it cleared up my acne. I would break out after that, but not like big, nasty, breakouts. The other thing you can do short term, and this is what I used to do even later in my career, the last 2 weeks before a contest, I would take Augmentin, which is an antibiotic, a very resistant antibiotic, which is good, so the bacteria don't acclimate to it very easily. And I would take 1,000 milligrams a day the last 2 weeks, the last 14 days, and my skin would be perfectly clear on stage. It was the only thing that made me perfectly clear. The Accutane got rid of the big stuff, but the Augmentin got rid of the little irritating stuff. And that's because, when you're on substances like that, not only does it raise DHT, but there's also toxins that are released. And if you have skin that your body uses to get rid of waste, and I do, I'm an oily, greasy Italian, my skin was getting rid of a lot of waste products, I guess, through the skin. And what happens is bacteria that live on your skin start to ferment these byproducts that leave these sugars and oils. And then you get an irritated and infected pore, and that becomes a pimple, essentially. So if you could, when you take those antibiotics, even though I don't recommend taking antibiotics all the time because you don't want to wipe out the good gut bacteria, you kill off a lot of these skin bacteria. So when these waste products are being released from your body, they don't infect the skin follicles or the hair follicles. So in a nutshell, I hope that answered your question. It's not an easy question to answer because for everyone it's different.
Take a couple of more biotech _ Seahawks. Dave, is there any point in taking more than 500 or 1,000 mg of vitamin C, and if so, in what form?
I used to tell people, and I still do, when I get sick, I usually up my vitamin C dosage a little bit to 3,000 milligrams a day. Otherwise, I take anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000, just for good health measure. My V Mineralize has almost 1,000 in it, so I usually do my 10 pills of V Mineralize, and then maybe if I'm feeling a little run down or I have a joint injury, because vitamin C is very good for collagen regeneration, I'll add 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C per day as well.
Corey Hitchens, Dave, how the hell do we get them to bring classic physique to the big Olympia stage? The lineup this year looks to be ridiculous, more ridiculous than last year's.
I think what they're trying to do at the Olympia is keep it so that, there's not a million classes up there and then we're there all night. I think that's the goal. I know they moved the 212 Olympia now to the Olympia main stage, which was great. And I suspect some of these other divisions like the men's physique and women's physique and classic physique will eventually make their way over there as well. When? Who knows?
Hussein Ashur, after I take creatine for a few weeks, every time I drink a large amount of water, my body temperature can rise up a little bit. Do you think the creatine is the case, or is it something else?
I doubt creatine is raising your body core temperature. Something probably else is boosting your metabolism. It could be a cup of coffee you're drinking. It could be a lot of things. Probably not the creatine.
Amanda Kinchi, Los Angeles, your thoughts on Mike Francois' physique?
What I thought about it when he was competing?
Yes.
I liked it. I thought Mike had a very powerful looking physique. He had a ton of muscle on him. His conditioning was always impeccable. He was a perfectionist. Chris Aceto used to do his diet. And I thought, while he didn't have the best structure on stage, he always was in great condition and he was able to stand with these guys mass-wise. Would he have won the Olympia? Probably not. Was it a shock that he won the Arnold? Yeah, it was. And it was probably because he timed it perfectly. It was on his birthday in his hometown, and he just happened to be in the right show at the right time, and it just wasn't anyone really great in the show, and he won. So in essence, once again, it's all about timing. I always tell people, bodybuilding. Look, Dexter Jackson's got the best timing in bodybuilding. He's always at the right place at the right time. But would he have been a great bodybuilder if he hadn't gotten sick and had to have his colon taken out and removed? Probably. He probably would have been a top 5, top 6 Olympian at the time. I don't know how long he would have done it for or how long his physique would have maintained its, the way it looked. But I think he was certainly one of the better guys of his time.
Cash 2851, Dave, I've been religiously taking Testalize and I love it. I'm just curious what ingredient or ingredients cause the pungent smell in the capsules.
Good question. You know what? I would love to answer your question. I'm not sure. And when I don't know, I don't try to make things up. I'm not sure which ingredient, gives it a little bit of a funky smell. It's probably one of the good ones, though, right? Because if it wasn't a good one, we wouldn't need to put it in there. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know what all those ingredients smell like. Although I am a smell maven, as far as, I could, if someone opened the bottle of Testalize, I could definitely tell, that it was open. That's for sure. I would know that it's my product. But I'm not sure what the ingredient is in there.
We'll take one more. This one's from Martin_1 Visage. Dave, I hate this show more than all right, I'm going to skip that one. Do you think intramuscular injections of high-dose L-carnitine will yield fat-burning effects like the ones produced on clenbuterol? Does supplementing/raising natural insulin cause a better effect?
Taking L-carnitine, whether it be orally or injectably, is not going to produce any fat-burning effects even close to clenbuterol. Clenbuterol is a direct mobilizer of fat. L-carnitine is the transporter that the cell uses to get the long chain fats into the mitochondria where they burn for energy. So if you have a lack of L-carnitine and you supplement with it, you will have better transportation or better mobilizing of of fatty acids for fuel. I think that the injectable version probably is a little better than the oral version of it, because you're putting it right into the bloodstream essentially. But once again, no one really knows, because I've never seen anyone say, you know what, I started taking L-carnitine and I lost 10 pounds so easily, never happened before. But I have seen people say I started taking clenbuterol and 2 weeks later I'm 5 pounds leaner. So clenbuterol is by far a much better fat burner.
That's going to do it for this episode of Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. Reminder tonight, Dave sits down with Bill Llewellyn live with this evening on RxMuscle.com. For Johnny Styles and Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.